In the previous tutorial, we learned how to edit a single snapshot. The edit procedure is actually much more powerful and let us edit several snapshots at once. We can select, for example, more than one snapshot before clicking on the Edit button. In that case, multiple snapshots edit is displayed in the upper part of the snapshot navigator. That's not the only way to achieve that. We could start with a click on Edit, no matter what is the current target snapshot. After all the changes and once clicked on Checkout, what is actually important is the selection of the target snapshots in the list, just before clicking on Apply. Let's make a real example. In our rig, a new clock requirement comes up, forcing us to change settings in our MADI SRC. We want to make sure all the snapshots have now the same output clock reference coming from the work clock input, no matter what was the previous settings in each snapshot. We go to the Snapshot tab, we click on Edit, select the Online method, go to the Clock tab and change MADI out ref to work clock in. We then click on Checkout. To make sure all the snapshots will also have identical settings about the 75 ohm termination with the current off value, we can click All on the Sync Edit area. We then go back to the Snapshot tab, select all the snapshots in the list with Command+A on Mac or Control+A on Windows, and then click on Apply. We can now double-check with the Scope Set Edit session if we could successfully change the desired settings in all the snapshots. Mission accomplished. Using Edit, we can also propagate settings already in use in the device to one or more snapshots. In other words, we are not forced to change parameters to perform a multiple edit. Let's make a propagate example. In our Xbox MD, the current patch of Dante is straight from the SFP MADI input. However, snapshot number 2 offers a very detailed and nonlinear Dante patch, which we would like to propagate to the last 2 snapshots in the list, without changing the rest of their dataset. Let's rename snapshot number 2 with Origin to better follow the rest of the example. We first recall the snapshot Origin, paying attention that in the scope set the Dante routing detail is fully scoped. In this way, we update the current status of the Dante patch in the real device. We then click on Edit, Online, and then immediately click on Checkout, since we don't have to alter any parameter, but just propagate a portion of the current ones. We then include the entire Dante details with a click on the relevant All button. We select the last 2 snapshots, our target, and click on Apply. The last 2 snapshots now have the peculiar Dante patch propagated from the snapshot Origin. What if we want to achieve the same, but without changing the current status of the real device? In other words, we cannot recall that snapshot during our live gig, so let's go back in time before the last edits and discover another very powerful globcon feature. We first disconnect the Xbox MD GUI from the real device, with a right click on either the top bar of its main window or from the global view, selecting Disconnect and Confirm. Whatever we change now on the Xbox MD GUI is not affecting the real status of the device, but just our local environment, exactly like if it was a virtual device. Don't forget, by the way, that the globcon controller is constantly in communication with the real device, to allow other users in the network to keep working online even if we decided to disconnect its GUI from it. While we are disconnected, other users may change some parameters and also create, edit or delete snapshots in that device. Being disconnected from the real device, we can freely recall the snapshot Origin, edit it, clicking on Offline, Checkout and propagate the peculiar Dante output patch. selecting the target snapshot and clicking on Apply. Now the local version of our snapshots are different from the ones currently stored in the globcon controller, since we modified them while being disconnected. If we would perform a push to update them in the controller, we would also change the current status of the device. We don't want that. So, we select the snapshot we edited, and with the right click we select Push Snapshot, a command which is useful and therefore available only when the device is disconnected from the controller. In this way, we have updated those snapshots in the globcon controller and in the real device, but we didn't touch its current status. We can now re-establish the connection with the real device selecting Pull, realigning our GUI and snapshots with the current status of the real device. In the end, we are now back online. We have the new version of the snapshots as per our editing, and we did that never touching the current status of the device. That's a kind of magic. Powerful, easy, globcon.